Welcome to today's show. I am your host, Glenn Erby, and this is Talking Eagles with the Cover 2. I'm the managing editor of the Eagles Wire. Today, we're going to talk some offseason workouts, OTAs, and we're going to talk about the defense. Last week, we discussed the offensive situation. We discussed the situation at running back. Today, we're going to focus on the defense, the new additions, some of the key losses. So, Howie Roseman likes to build his roster from the inside out. So, the biggest loss this season was Javon Hargrave getting $84 million from the San Francisco 49ers. You had CJ Gardner-Johnson take his talents to Detroit. You had Kaiser White take his talents to the Cardinals. He followed Jonathan Gannon. You had TJ Edwards take his talents to the Bears. Linval Joseph still in free agency. Ndamukong Suh is a free agent. So you had a situation where the Eagles had to retool. They lost about 7 or 8, key contributors. Marcus Epps, a starter, took his talents to the Raiders. So you have a situation where Howie Roseman was blessed to have some replacements already here on the roster, and then he was able to draft 2 guys, and we'll talk about that as well. So the first thing we'll talk about is the defensive line. You have a situation where Derek Barnett returning from an ACL injury. 1 year left on his contract. He could be a candidate to be cut, traded, or he could come back and become one of those guys that plays well, that rushes the passer well. Brandon Graham came back, turned down bigger offers to return to the Eagles on a 1-year, $6 million deal. 11 sacks in 2022, seems to continue to get better. Future guys that's going to retire here. Fletcher Cox did the same thing with Graham. Returned on a 1-year, $10 million deal. Probably could have got more money from the Jets, the Browns. Cox is back. He's going to mentor Jordan Davis and some of the younger guys. He was a key contributor. You saw all the things that made him, a game wrecker at Georgia. You saw the explosiveness, the 40 time, and then he hurt his ankle. Thankfully, Howie Roseman was able to adjust, got Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. But 2023 is going to be a big year for Jordan Davis. He's a game wrecker. Defensive coordinator Sean Desai looks like he's going to adjust the defense some, play some 5-man fronts, some 4-man fronts. We could probably get away from the 4-3 look, more of a 3-4 look, with one linebacker, a light box, 5 or 6 defensive backs, So it's a situation where Davis has a chance to be a breakout year, and he'll have some help because Howie Roseman brought in a teammate and former Georgia All-American Jalen Carter. The Eagles traded up to number 9. Some weren't sure if Carter would fall that far. The Bears didn't jump at the pick to get Carter. They traded out. Philadelphia traded up. You get a game record defensive tackle. You get a guy that's looking to repair his reputation after, the situation with, leaving the scene of an accident and different things like that. So you have Carter. And the second pick in the first round, pick number 30, Howie Roseman gets Nolan Smith. Game record, highest graded run stopper in college football last year. Crazy off the edge, crazy athleticism, intangibles, versatility. You like to see the Eagles used Nolan Smith as a weak side version of Fred Warner. So you'll have a guy that can drop back in pass coverage. You're going to have a guy that's athletic enough to play man-to-man against some tight ends, some running backs. And you'll have a guy that can do whatever he wants coming off the edge. And Tavia Street was brought in. Had a solid season with the Saints last year, 3.5 sacks. He's a guy, a big physical guy, but kind of a tweener in terms of his ability to play off the edge or play defensive tackle. He'll be a guy to watch. Some under the radar guys, Janarius Robinson, Teron Jackson, they'll look to try to make the roster. If not, they'll probably, be potential practice squad guys. From the defensive line, defensive tackle, we're going to have the linebacker. And Kobe Dean is the name of the summer. He's the name to watch. He's the reason why Howie Roseman felt comfortable letting Kaiser White and TJ Edwards leave. The hope is that Desai can put, the smaller Dean in position to be a downhill tackler, put him in position to make plays in the open field, put him in position to use that brain, that knowledge, the green dot on his helmet. That means he's going to be the play caller. You would hope that by, week 7 or 8 or 9, Dean to have the ability to start calling games himself, putting the guys in the correct position. Nicholas Moreau came over from the Bears, non-guaranteed contract, played every snap for Chicago last year, over 1,000 snaps, had over 100 tackles. He's a guy that if he can slide in next to Dean, everything's great. If you can't, then that could become a concern. You might have to look towards free agency, different things like that. Christian Ellis is a guy to watch in terms of, he was elevated to the roster several times last year. Special teams improved, actually, with Ellis in the roster. He had a great spring, great early part of the summer with some guys not in action during OTAs and offseason workout. He was able to be a force on defense, got a couple of interceptions on Jalen Hurts, things like that. He'll be a player to watch. Davion Taylor's a player to watch, saw snaps in 2021. practice squad in 2022. This could be his final chance to make the roster. Sean Bradley will return after facing some injuries. The former Temple product is a special teams dynamo, but he'll look to make the roster at linebacker, and he'll look to make noise at linebacker as well. Then you have Patrick Johnson, Sam linebacker, plays off the edge. Kyron Johnson is moving from the Sam to the weak side to the off-ball linebacker, so it'll be interesting to see if the former Kansas product, who's played safety, linebacker, cornerback, defensive back, he's very athletic. He's played almost every position on defense. He'll have a chance to try to make the roster at the off-the-ball linebacker position. Cornerback, things were looking muddy in the beginning. We weren't sure if we're going to get Bradbury back. We weren't sure if we're going to get Slay. Howie Roseman was able to make some magic. We lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson to the Lions, but you got James Bradbury back on a 3-year, $38 million deal. Slay was able to negotiate a 2-year extension. We got Avonte Maddox returning. So the Eagles have their core 3 guys at cornerback. You got Greedy Williams, who came over from the Browns. I think the hope is that he can get back to his days, to get back to his abilities, to the things he did at LSU, where he was an All-American, Defensive Player of the Year, SEC, all SEC, those type of things. You want to see what Greedy Williams can do. Keely Ringo from Georgia. He's not signed yet. The hope is that he'll be signed by the 25th, but you have a big, physical, fast cornerback. We're not sure if he's going to transition to safety or what he's going to do, but the hope is that he can spend this first year learning from Slay, learning from James Bradbury. Same with a guy like Eli Ricks from Alabama, Garner from LSU. You want those guys that you hope can make the transition, be on the practice squad, do the things that they need to do. Zeke McPherson, great special teams player, spent most of the summer playing slot with Avonte Maddox, returning from injury. That could be a player to watch. Greedy Williams, Josh Jobe, cornerback from Alabama, started to improve last year. He spent this summer getting second team snaps while Slay, Bradbury, and others were out. So it's an improved defense. It's a defense that I like I said, will have a 5-man front, 4-man fronts, light box, heavy defensive backs. You have the rookie, Sidney Brown from Illinois. I would love to see the side put him in the star position, treat him like Jalen Ramsey, let him play in the box, let him cover tight ends, let him cover running backs, let him do all those different things. So I think the hope is that you'll see sometimes where when the Eagles are at their best, they have 5 down linemen, 1 linebacker, 6 defensive backs, 5 defensive backs, those things. And you'll have a situation where you have versatility, hybrid players, interchangeable things going on, and just an improved defense with Jonathan Gannon gone, Sean Desai in, but the same Vic Fangio style principles.